What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're back with another informative video for you guys. Things to keep in mind, things to keep aware of when you're traveling. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Bogota, Colombia specifically, but this can be applied to Colombia in general when you're traveling throughout Colombia. Before we start the video, don't forget to hit the like button, comment a question if you have a question towards the end of the video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep bringing you guys more insightful and informative videos. And if you ever need any more in-depth, more personalized travel information, I do consultation calls as well. In that consultation call, we'll talk about what your situation is, what objective and goal you're trying to accomplish, and what information I can provide to you to help you reach that goal. Or if you just want to pick my brain and get some questions that you always wanted answered, I'll do that as well in the call. Link for that is in the description below. So I already made a video related to this topic on my channel. It's called Is Medellin, Colombia Dangerous? And in that video, I go really in depth of the dangers and things to be aware of when you're traveling in Colombia and Medellin, of course. But in this video, I thought it should just have its own separate video. It's something that people already know about when traveling throughout South America and definitely traveling through Colombia, but I just wanted people to have a video to reference and to go back on and to find just based off this one topic, because it could save people a lot of hassle, a lot of stress, and it could just help people out. So the topic of this video today is going to be about the number one thing you should be aware of when traveling throughout Colombia, and the number one thing you should not do when traveling throughout Colombia. And like I said, this could be applied to South America in general. And that number one thing is, do not use your phone when outside, out and about, traveling in the street, just outside of your home, apartment, wherever you're staying at. Do not use your phone without being aware of your surroundings when traveling throughout Colombia, and especially when traveling throughout Bogota. And what I'm saying right now will apply to all cities in Colombia. I've personally been to Bogota, Cali, Riohacha, Medellin, Isla San Andres Island, and I would practice this in all places in Colombia. So the reason why I say Bogota, Colombia especially, because it's the highest populated city in Colombia. It's the capital city of Colombia. It has about 8 million people in it. It's a lot of traffic. It's very busy, very congested, and it just has an environment to where it makes it more easier for thieves to, do petty things to you. And in Colombia in general, there's a issue with insecurity. There's a lot of petty crime that goes on, petty theft, and more serious crimes. But the things you want to be aware of in your day-to-day life traveling throughout Colombia is the petty stuff, of course. And that is, one of the main things in my mind is to be aware when using your phone outside, or just don't use your phone when you're out and about. And looking at the stats online, you may think that Bogota is like a very dangerous city. You shouldn't go there. And you may think that crime is the worst in Bogota. But I think you just need to be very vigilant in Bogota. I would definitely recommend to visit, to travel, to do whatever you want to do in Bogota. You just got to be on your toes since there's a lot of people there and it's very populated. Coming from my background, my country, the United States, and more specifically living in New York, you see people on their phone all the time. Like, it's like a phone culture out here. Like, we use our phones to avoid awkward situations. If we're waiting for something outside or at a restaurant or things of that nature, we're just on our phone just to kind of pass the time. Just avoid awkward things, avoid silence. We're on our phones. And especially when outside, people are walking down the street on their phone, glued to their phone, crossing the street, glued to their phone. I've seen people run into light poles and run into other people while on their phone. So it's like we feel very safe using our phone outside in New York City, and I would assume this could apply to other states in the United States. I know the best New York, but we're more comfortable using our phones outside. And in Colombia, South America, and in other countries in general, that's just not the case. They don't have that same safety aspect when using electronics like in the street. And when I went to Bogota, I really noticed Bogota was the first city I've ever been to in Colombia. That was my first place that I went to in Colombia. And I noticed that you don't see a lot of people on their phone, like outside. People are just not on their phone. They know where they gotta go. They know what they're doing. they're not on their phone. And I found out why, and it's because it's a lot of petty phone theft, a lot of petty crime related to phones and electronics in the streets of Colombia. And the phones that are more sought after, phones that, are more expensive, they're not as common in Colombia as they are in the United States or, let's say, other developed countries. Like iPhones specifically, I was not seeing iPhones that often in Colombia. Your experience might be different. You might have seen a lot of people with iPhones, but out of all the times I've visited Colombia and the different cities I've been to, it just was not common to see an iPhone. And for us in the States, that's super common. Majority of people have an iPhone. And we tend to forget, this is a very expensive phone. A lot of people want this phone, and other people in different parts of the world can't afford the phone and just can't buy the phone. So when you're walking down the street in Bogota and you're on your iPhone, you're not paying attention, you got your iPhone 13 or 15, whatever number they're at right now on iPhones, that's a prime target for to get your phone stolen. And who knows to what extent they'll take your phone. It might just be they're riding a bike and they see you on your phone and they just pick it out your hand, or they could really actually mug you, rob you for your phone. You just never know. You'll probably find this out eventually riding in Ubers, but a lot of times when you're in an Uber and you got your window all the way rolled down, or sometimes even halfway rolled down, that's a good opportunity for someone on a motorcycle to just come up on the car real quick and just snatch the phone out your hand and just keep going. So yeah, you gotta really be careful using your phone in Colombia. And I know something like this can get overlooked because it's just a phone. Everybody these days has a phone, but the environment that you're using your phone in, you really have to adjust to it because, let's be honest, our phone is like our life. We got all our pictures on it, a lot of personal things on your phone, and you don't want to lose that due to not being aware of the environment you're in. So if you really got to use your phone, just go into a little store or restaurant real quick and use your phone, make your calls. If you got to use Google Maps, do the same thing, find out your route. But definitely don't walk around the street with your phone, going left, right, following Google Maps or anything like that. Because like I said, petty theft is common and phone robberies are common. So if you really got to use your phone, what I used to do is if I had to pull up Google Maps, I would, go off into like a little corner of the street somewhere, some place where I knew I was secure and I know who was around me while I was using the phone. You can go in a restaurant, you can go in a little store, just anything. Just make sure you're like in a specific spot where you're really aware of your surroundings before you pull out your phone. And make sure you're not in a bad neighborhood or a sketchy area already before you pull out your phone and start using it. What I usually do when I'm in Bogota, and I only use my phone outside just to figure out where I'm going, with Google Maps and stuff like that. But when I need to pull out my phone to verify the direction I'm headed in, I'll just pull it out real quick for no more than like 10 seconds, look at the map. The map is already pulled up on my phone, and put it back in my pocket and keep going. That's how I use Google Maps and my phone in Bogota. Apart from using maps, just trying to figure out where you're going, your destination, there's no reason for you to just be using your phone, walking casually, like talking on the phone or texting, stuff like that, unless it's very necessary. Yeah, you shouldn't really do that. A lot of people too, and I mentioned this in my Is Medellin Colombia Dangerous video on my channel, a lot of people get a decoy phone. They get a backup phone that they only use when they're outside traveling around throughout Colombia or Bogota. And this phone is usually like a cheaper version of the phone that they normally use. So let's say like an Android or like an old Galaxy, some kind of oldish smartphone that you're not gonna be too concerned about if you gotta give it up or you lose it or somebody snatches it out your hand. I actually do have a backup phone. I bought, an Android, not as expensive as the phone I have now. And I take that with me every time I'm going to a place that I've never been. I'm not aware of the neighborhood, not aware of the people I'm gonna be around in that place that I'm traveling to. I'll bring the backup phone, the decoy phone, and that'll be the phone I'm using until I'm comfortable in the areas that I've been at. Let's say I've walked those streets multiple times, I get a greater sense of comfort, then I may pull out, my personal phone, the phone I use all the time. So yeah, with the backup phone, being aware of your surroundings when you have to use the phone, going inside and out of a store to use the phone, I think you'll be fine. But just keep this in mind because, I know a lot of first-time travelers to South America or Colombia or Bogota, aren't aware of this, and they think they can use the phone as frivolously as they use it in the United States or other places, and that's just not the case. The first time I actually seen somebody get their phone stolen from them was in the United Kingdom. Actually, I was in London, in Russell Square, the Russell Square neighborhood, and that was the first time I ever seen somebody get their phone snatched out their hand. And the way the guy stole the phone was he was riding a bicycle, slowly, wasn't going too fast, just casually riding a bicycle, and he pulls up next to a woman that's just on her phone, not paying attention, and he just picks it right out her hand and just speeds up and is off. And the woman is just chasing him. But yeah, that's how that happened in Russell Square. Yeah, you might be surprised, like, oh, you seen somebody get their phone stolen in the United Kingdom, London, a developed country, or whatever you're thinking. But yeah, people do get their phones stolen even in Western countries, as we know in the United States. But it's just in the United States, it seems to not be as common. But of course, that varies if you're in a different city in the United States. There's a lot of variables when it comes to how common that happens in the United States. But I did find that interesting that was the first time I seen a phone get stolen in the United Kingdom in London. So the tips I'm giving you right now in this video can be applied to anywhere in the world. And I really go in detail on the tips when using your phone in Colombia in my Is Medellin Colombia Dangerous video. You can find that video on my channel. I'll put the link to that video right there. I hope you found this video helpful and insightful. I hope you keep this in mind next time you go to Bogota, next time you're traveling throughout Colombia. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.